paints are expensive. I started off with my painting style where I didn't know a lot about color and color theory. I was going to the store and purchasing pretty much every paint that I thought I would need for my paintings. I was spending a ton of money. Like, you see the amount of paint that I have in my art room now that are going unused.
What is a limited palette? A limited palette is exactly what it sounds like, using only a small selection of colors for the entirety of a painting. A limited palette is planned first by selecting a color scheme or color gamut that drives the mood or feeling of a painting. New colors are created by mixing the colors that you have selected, as well as tinting, toning, and shading the colors by adding white, gray, and black.
First, what I'm going to do is show you something kind of interesting, and that is one of the swatches I just created for a recent painting. Here it is. I know it looks pretty like a lot at the moment. I have different colors laid out, and I was just kind of testing with my paintbrush to see what was working, what was not working, and which colors I would use for my limited palette in my painting. So this whole line up here of colors may look very different.
The hue I used in this example was cadmium red light. I changed the saturation by adding white and gray to the hue. I also changed its value by adding black to the hue.
Without anything else added other than white and black, I can achieve a whole range of pigments.
After you have taken this class and selected your paint hues for the piece, create a paint swatch to keep next to you while you paint. First, start by testing each paint individually by tinting your paint. As you can see, I begin by mixing my pure pigment, quinacridone magenta, with white. Next, start a new paint test below by adding more white. Continue this until you feel like you can see a good range of tint values and move on to the next column. This column will be our tones, which means our quinacridone magenta hue mixed with gray. Do the same process we did with your tints, except this time add both white and black to the mix as you work your way down. Finally, the last column you will make is your shades, which means your pure paint hue mixed with black. Black will change your hue very quickly, so make sure only to add a tiny bit of black for each step down on your column. After you've done this for each of your paint pigments individually, see how your pigments mix with each other, and complete the same steps of tinting, toning, and shading with this new mixture. Finally, test out your black pigment by tinting it with white or any light colored hue you have in your palette, because if you're unsure of the undertone color in your black, it can affect the outcome of your mixes. For instance, I use a carbon black in my paintings, and it has a bluish undertone to elevate the visual blackness. I found that if I add Hansa yellow to my carbon black, I get a very beautiful selection of green colors. Eventually, you'll have a swatch that looks similar to the example I showed you. It will be a great reference during your painting process to help guide you with paint mixing ratios to achieve a desired color.
But how do you know if you're buying the right color? Well, I'm going to give you some tools, and this is not a how to do everything exactly the way I do it. In fact, I want you to take these inspirations that I'm giving you, these tools and these resources, and use them the way that you think you'll need for your work. It's about you, your art, your style, and making sure that your message is getting across and people are able to relate and understand you as an artist.